Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's number one advocate TV show, Timeshare Solutions or Surrender. And I would like to welcome everyone to join into some of our conversations, share your stories. We'll help share some solutions. Everyone, help me give us a warm welcome for Irene Parker, the advocate, the co-founder of TARDA. Let's get Irene in here. Welcome, Irene. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you.
So, Irene, you don't rest. You're like one of these advocates that is this gladiator sword fighter 24/7. You are out there. I've been listening to your phone calls all weekend. And this is, to me, a escalating concern in our country that policies have been written to create such a problem that doesn't need to exist.
I feel that's what the purpose, the reason we founded TARDA, but I think there's change on the way. Sometimes I feel that the only court is the court of public opinion, and that includes consumer education and consumer awareness. So if you are aware of the oral representation clause, then you should know that you cannot believe a timeshare sales agent. And that's not fair to the honest agents, but the agents that lie are too good at what they do. That oral representation clause is in other contracts, but as one attorney was quoted in the New York Times, it's used as a license to lie clause. And there's been too many attorney general settlements and lawsuits to say that, and the Better Business Bureau did an intensive study on timeshares in Missouri, and that being number 9 and 10 on the FTC top 10 scam list in 2020, there's too much to say that there is no problem.
Well, and I have to agree with you. And I think what we need to start doing now is getting a little bit more exposure, get people united with some of these problems, and then, go knock on the doors and try to change some of the policies that exist today. One of my biggest concerns is that it's treated like real estate investment, or not. It's not investment. We've talked about that, but it's treated like real estate in many ways. Yet they don't have to abide by, they're exempt from real estate laws, completely exempt. So how do people get around some of the issues that where it's hitting them hard and heavy, like it's a piece of real estate, when it's not? I mean, how do you get around that? I mean, people get into these situations and they can't get out. The contracts are written so they can't get out. I mean, and they do this in 15 minutes. Like, you sign away your life in 15 minutes.
Well, what's really important, and the reason I started this in the first place, is the active duty service members. And that very question, is it real estate or is it a transient stay, is what we're looking forward to on April 18th in Steins versus Westgate. Because the Military Lending Act prohibits arbitration, and residential mortgages are exempt. So when we talked to Taya last week, I talked to her this morning, and just to summarize from last week, she is eligible, from what we see of the act, for a 6% loan rate from Wyndham. And the way the Service Members Civil Relief Act works is, if you have a high interest rate before you enter service, you are the creditor must cap your loan rate at 6%. So and I looked back, and the first active duty service, a couple, Amanda and George in Virginia Navy, the exact same complaint in 2018, when they purchased in January of 2017, told, oh, it's easy to refinance. Some have even been told it's easy to refinance because you're military. So if you have a loan on your home, your personal residence, you can sell that loan. But the question being debated is on April 18th, is it a loan or a transient stay? I'm posting an article in the next day or two about this. And what's terrifying is active duty service members get deployed a lot. And when they have not to mention their security clearance if they default on a loan. So and laws, as you mentioned, are hard to catch up. Your grandmother's timeshare was a fixed week. You had to go week 24. It was deeded. You could argue that it's real estate. But what's really exciting about today's program is our next guest, who is in the process of learning a lot about rentals and resales. And we're all learning that very few timeshares have resale, and that just puts active duty service members in a very bad situation.
So when you say they don't have resale, I mean they misrepresent this greatly in the sales, right? They try to make you feel like you're investing your money, and an investment is usually something that you can get a gain out of, and a gain meaning monetary gain, like you can resell it for more money later, but you're pretty much locked in for life once you sign that contract. There is no getting out, right?
Well, it's a perpetual contract, and as one attorney explained to me, there's nothing wrong with a perpetual contract for your personal residence or your car. That's a perpetual contract, but the difference is you can sell your car or you can sell your house. So in these non-deeded points, if you go to Hawaii, the agents there will say, oh, Hawaii points are more valuable than the points you buy on the mainland. If you go to the mainland, you shouldn't have bought Hawaii points because the maintenance fees are so high. So it just goes back and forth. And we just need to, this program is, I mean, I feel like I won American Idol or something, because you're crying from the mountaintops to just get educated, do your due diligence. But when you're pulled off the street, or you get a phone call about stay 3 nights here for $99, half the time they don't even tell you it's a timeshare, and you show up and you're in the heat of the battle and you cannot leave today. There have been many reports of your credit card and your driver's license, when you ask for them, not given back. And so that's just what our goal is to promote the secondary market, because Disney has a good secondary market, fantastic, really. Marriott's pretty good, and Hilton Grand Vacation has some secondary market, but there are way too many that have no secondary market at all.
So would it be right to say that when you have a timeshare agent telling you that you can sell your product that you buy from them, that they're actually misrepresenting the truth on that? I mean, it in most cases it cannot, or is not supposed to be resold. The contracts that I have looked at or seen, and in many cases you can't resell it yourself.
Well, I think that's a good time to invite Sheridan in to visit with us, because there's some options there. And I have a suggestion for people that are in that situation. So if we could go ahead and bring in Sheridan, we're blessed to have her husband Earl with us today too.
All right, well, let's do that. Before we do that, I would like to just thank everyone for being here, and that we need to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pod TV's Timeshares Solutions or Surrender with Irene Parker. We are here today discussing some of the issues that people fall into when they rush into those contracts with timeshares because, they always make you feel like you have to sign something now. And with us today, Irene, I'm going to let you introduce our guest to
You know,
discuss.
I'll go ahead and before we bring Sharon in, is I get a lot of calls. And one day, 2.5 years ago, I received a call and, hi, I have a problem with my timeshare, which is not an unusual comment. And then she said, so I went to talk to my priest. I said, okay. And my priest said I should say a novena to St. Jude. And I said, and I did. And I went to the internet and I found your phone number and your name. I said, be careful what you pray for. So Sherida describes herself as a very organized person. I'm like, great, a secretary for TARDA. And so lo and behold, not only did I get her into our TARDA, but she's also a licensed Florida real estate agent, thanks to me.
Oh.
And we'll bring her in and you'll just love her like I do. And her
I
husband.
can't wait to meet her. But you know what? There's nothing like lighting the fire under someone when you see that they've been wronged and you kind of join forces together and they finally get that little support that they wanted and needed. And so thank you, Irene, for doing that because we need more and more people out there and to go out and get a real estate license. Go ahead and introduce her, Irene.
At our age, I started the pre-license course the first week of September, and at age 72, I got my license on October 28th, so I'm quite proud of that. And Sherida was calling me the sacrificial lamb, and so then I coached her through the remaining period, and she fortunately graduated. And we're really happy to have Earl with us, who has taken time out from his massive organic gardening project to be with us today. And so Sherida, if you can just go back to where this all started, and you own at Westgate, you resolved a dispute with another timeshare company.
Yep.
I think you have some Hilton Grand Vacation points.
A few points, yeah.
Yeah, and then the big problem started with the Colonies, which is owned by Vacation Village. And before you start, I would just like to share a widow of 12 years who had called them. Her arthritis was so bad she couldn't hold a coffee cup, much less a suitcase. And she had tried find a buyer for a couple of years. Then she called me. She said she was suffering from some dementia. Well, let's get on the phone. We got on the phone at at 9 o'clock on a Monday, and we got transferred back and forth for 2 hours. We both got tired, and they said call owner services on Tuesday morning. And we did, and we got transferred 2 more times. And the second person told us to talk to the person we talked to first on Monday. Now, even if you're not suffering from dementia, people live busy lives and it's hard to navigate through that. So you have tried to navigate, you have followed our process, you have not resolved with the Colonies. So go ahead and let us know how this just really upset your life.
Well, we were in Virginia. We decided to stay in Williamsburg because we both love history museums, and we stayed at Colonies. And as we were checking in, the concierge said, come on over here. I'll give you some free tickets for the museum. And so all you have to do is listen to 90-minute program. And so we thought, yeah, we'll just stay 90 minutes. And so we signed up. We got the tickets to go to Colonies. And the next day we had our meeting with our sales agent. And of course it lasted probably 7 hours. And she drove us over to a different timeshare and showed us a fabulous resort there, and then brought us back to the meeting room. And we spent all those hours And by the time we were done, we were very beleaguered. She had promised that she could get her close friend to sell Westgate for us so that we could cover the cost for colonies. And she had attached herself to us by using her faith, because she knew we were Catholic, and so she claimed that she too was a practicing Christian, and she used a lot of other hooks to become our best friend for 2 days. And so we did purchase this timeshare. It was a 4-bedroom lockoff, and with the hopes that and the promise that her friend could sell colonies or sell Westgate for us.
So you could afford.
Right. So we could afford it, and also that he could rent out the bonus weeks we would get each year, paying our maintenance fees to cover maintenance fees. So it sounded so promising, and she was so kind. And so we purchased this, and then we came home and we contacted Ed McGee of the International Vacation Services in Virginia, and he posted our Westgate for 38,000, and then also the colonies bonus weeks. And a year later, nothing had happened, and it just sunk into my very soul that we had lost everything because of this, because of her stories. And I was incensed, and I didn't know what to do. And I was looking online, and I found this article about filing with the FBI. I have to do something. It might not help, but at least I would feel less powerless. And that's when I met you. And you walked me through all the stages of how to file with different departments, and to also file with the Attorney General in Virginia. And I got a couple of responses back from colonies. One was they would waive $750 and we would be released. And I said, no, that would be rewarding bad behavior, because you have 45,000 of our dollars. And so then I decided to start writing them. So I've been writing them every 2 weeks for the last 2 years. And now I've also included writing to their state officials, and yet to have any resolve.
Well, and you mentioned that he listed it for 38,000.
Yep.
Someone I spoke to, I referred them. Their licensed brokers will not accept a listing for Westgate when I last checked, except for Fidelity timeshare resales. And I referred someone to them to say, well, if eventually you have to default, at least try to sell it. And they said she listing it for $1, but he told her that, maybe 500 to 1,500, and so you'll be out of pocket. So someone that's listing for 38,000 that is a personal friend of a timeshare sales agent, that's just, you may say it's circumstantial evidence, your word against theirs, but sometimes circumstantial evidence becomes so compounding and compelling. You folks are from northern Minnesota, and you would know to call Ed McGee to take out a listing for, I think you said it was $299.
And also $199 to list the bonus weeks.
And were there any inquiries?
Not at all. No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, so then I suggested friends of mine started a rental company called Koala. Now you have to be careful, because Blue Green has been suspending hundreds of accounts suspected of commercial activity. And I know Diamond Resorts does not allow me to rent to anyone I don't know or use a third-party platform. But that's one benefit for a deed, is you can rent them out. So I referred you to Koala, founded by Mike Kennedy and James Burbridge. And what I liked about Koala is they vet the property. People don't know what they have. And so I did rent through them. Not only did you rent through them. You became a high tier member and you published an article about their programs. So tell us what that was like and your success with that.
Well, I did purchase the high tier where they take your books and they're the ones who place ads for them and rent them out. And that was going well. But at the same time, I wanted to learn the process. So I would be in contact with the sales agent quite often. And she eventually started showing me how to use Interval and how to find desirable rentals and to rent them myself. So that was even more helpful to me than having them do all the work.
And were you able to rent out your colonies?
I did rent out a couple of weeks through them, yes.
Okay. And then when I convinced you that you should talk to a friend of mine about becoming a real estate agent and actually working in rentals and resales, it was an eye-opener for me. And what convinced me is I was on the phone with one person that paid a scam exit company $15,000 to be released from 3 Marriott deeds. And because those deeds were in Aruba, she could have netted $30,000. And that is such a tragedy, but people don't even know there's a secondary market.
No.
So what has been most eye-opening in your experience? And are we, what's funny is most businesses will jump at the chance to have their name broadcast, and he's like, I don't know, because even when I say only Marriott and Disney, I still get these calls from all these junk timeshares, people wanting to list. I wish I could help them, but it just makes me feel bad. So I don't know, do we have permission to disclose who you work for?
He said I could disclose, and I work for Timeshare, and he deals only with Disney and Marriott.
That's
and
True Timeshares Realty.
Realty. Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm working with him. I'm training as the transaction coordinator, which is very interesting, and able to work with some of especially the elderly, helping them fill out contracts. And it's interesting that it's usually the older folks who have used their Marriotts for quite a while. They're the ones who want to sell them, and we are able to sell them. And it's the younger families who want to buy them. So everybody's happy with selling and renting and buying.
What I learned is, I don't know if your boss would agree with this, but I think it's far more complicated than selling a personal residence. Because if I sell my house, I'm the seller and I have a buyer. But in a timeshare sale, you have a buyer and a seller and a big old corporation.
Yep.
And Marriott will issue right of first refusal, which some people think is a bad thing. But another resale broker that carries a lot of Marriott listings, actually over at Magical Realty, he explained to me that it's actually a good thing because it supports the price. So what I saw is that somebody would list something, and people that knows how this works would come in and offer more than the listing price, knowing if it's a good deal, Marriott's going to snap it up, and you have a happy seller, and the broker still gets paid, but you have a buyer that you have to go and scramble and find inventory. And because True Timeshare Realty is a walking Marriott encyclopedia, that always have to be scurrying around looking for something for that buyer that's still wanting to buy. So that's been that was really interesting to learn that. How's the rental side going? Are you renting? Or I know one person wanted to rent, but the maintenance fees had risen to $4,500 a year. because of hurricanes, 3,500 or 4,500 a year, I think, and that's why no one wants to buy those, and it must be hard to rent those as well.
We do have a lot of rentals that we've listed, and in fact, today I've just talked to a couple people that are renting some of our clients' properties, so that's going well also.
And so how long of a time period do someone keeps listing on the market? Is it 6 months or a year?
For renters, for renting, it's 6 months, and for sales, it's a year.
It is a year. And people can buy and sell and rent on their own. One resource that is my favorite is Timeshare Users Group, TUG. And they you can post it yourself. Red Week is another popular site. But for the same reason that a lot of people don't want to do for sale by owner, that's why there are many people that would prefer to use a licensed broker to negotiate. You're a transaction broker, so you're not really representing either side. If I understand our real estate course, you're just helping the transaction with a buyer and a seller. They're more customers than clients. Did I remember that right?
More customers than clients. Yeah, I would say so.
It's good. Well, and then let's talk more about the secondary market. What do you get calls from other people that want to rent other timeshares? Have you had any luck now? Sheraton Vistana is owned by Marriott, and I paid someone's maintenance fees to stay at Vistana Beach Club, and it was wonderful. I couldn't believe it, but I don't think you really do you want to handle Sheraton resales and rentals?
I think he wants to stick primarily with Marriott's and not any off branches. Yeah.
Is that because he knows the Marriott product better? He
Yes.
has more people that he knows, so it's not that he doesn't really like the Sheraton properties. He
Right.
just doesn't have the database in that as well.
Yeah. That's
Oh, okay. And what are the steps that you go through? If I wanted to rent my timeshare, well, first of all, you would not rent my timeshare. I couldn't do that. So do you find that you rent more? Oh, the big question is Marriott has deeded properties and Marriott has deeded points. So their points are deeded. Now, am I going to make my maintenance fee back
more
if I
likely
rent it out?
and not points.
More likely for
A week and not points.
a deeded week.
Yes.
So there's another benefit to having a deeded week. And then if I want to sell, if I have you could go ahead and tell us what are the best properties to resell for Marriott.
Aruba's, Maui, Hawaii, any of the islands, they're really great. Newport Coast Villas are really good. Hilton Head, the Monarchs at Hilton Head, those are nice. Those seem to be the best ones to sell.
Okay, now let's get back to the process that you're using with colonies. And Earl, let's hear you weigh in on how you've observed not only the disaster with the colonies, but putting up with a wife that, as a senior, wants to get a real estate license. I know my husband said, "What?"
I just support her. I watch her. She's very diligent. She's a hard worker. She doesn't have a problem with the truth. And every encounter that we have had, we've shared the disappointments that the misrepresentations that and some of the things that we were promised did not pan out. And not to have a resource that you can go to reconcile it, they just don't want to hear you. You don't have a voice with them. So for me, and one of our issues that we had with one of the timeshares, the person had used faith as a leverage with regards to getting us to believe what she was saying, which wasn't true. But truth and valor are two extremely important values, especially so in the life of a Christian, which we are governed by our moral law to love God and neighbor. So in that one particular case, I don't know how anyone can live with themselves when lives are being destroyed. It's just tough, and I feel bad for everybody that's had to face and has to struggle with this now.
Well, it's interesting that you mention using your Catholic faith, and we had Kimberly was on a call with me just yesterday or the day before, where the person attending the presentation was Muslim, and they said that she said because of her religious beliefs, the Muslim faith does not endorse credit lending.
They brought somebody in to comfort her.
They said, yes, we're all Muslim, and this is perfectly okay. I've talked to if you're Hispanic, it will be a Hispanic person that comes in. I've talked to African Americans that have been complained that they felt that they were taking advantage of that situation. As a former stockbroker, I know we had a stockbroker that they would say he would change his religion about once a month. It's all about bonding. It's all about becoming your best friend. And what I love is I'm not here to sell you anything. I couldn't sell you anything if I wanted to sell. They're trying to break down that barrier and to break down your defenses. It's an art form, and that's why there's a tag team of then they go out and get somebody else, and then that doesn't work. And I've heard it all.
But you mentioned something else in your story that was quite compelling to me, and I can totally respect and understand. My husband and I went and saw a timeshare once and walked away saying we would never ever do this again. I don't care what they're giving away. They could offer $1 million because they told us, oh, you need to sit in a 1.5 hour presentation. And then they drove us off site and we were gone 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you were going, so it becomes more than just a pressure sale. It becomes a psychological sale.
Psychological
because they wear you down to the point of, if I don't buy this, they hold you hostage. Right. If I don't buy, you're starving. One, they don't feed you. You're starving. You're thirsty. You're dehydrated. If you're drunk like I was one time, you'll end up signing anything just to get rid of them because I was totally drunk when I signed a contract with them. Totally wasted. They should have never even spoke to me. So that is a pressure selling point, right? Am I right?
Well, it's funny you should bring that up because last week I talked about Leo Gomez, who only had 30 days left to live with pancreatic cancer, 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star. I looked up those records. And that sales agent, we have had 11 complaints against him. And one of the complaints was a veteran who, 26 years old, 90% disabled. He had traumatic brain injury with seizures, and he had PTSD. And he recorded the second hour of a 5-hour presentation because he had repeatedly asked for his driver's license and credit card back in that first hour. So recordings are very important in states where legal. And once I get more comfortable with this show, I'm going to take my phone off of airplane mode, and we're going to hear, some of these calls that come in from these scam artists. And when you listen to this recording, you're just appalled. And yet it's a one-party state or a two-party state. So of course you cannot record in Florida, but you can record in Nevada or Missouri or Arizona. And we have quite a collection of recordings, which
Well,
is proof.
there is a way around it, Irene. And, I worked under federal regulations, owning my own phone company for years. And there's ways that you can kind of instigate the issue a little bit. You can ask them if they're recording. And if they say, yes, they are, then you also have a right to record. But you can always ask them first, are you recording this conversation? And if so, please make a notification that you're okay. We're all okay with recording this conversation. Then they've already recorded. So it's a little of their own trick.
Well, yeah. Wait a minute, because there's two different things at play here. So in 2016 and 2017, one of the attorneys at the Arizona Attorney General Office said they received over 900 complaints from Diamond Resorts members. And they issued an assurance of discontinuance and fined them $800,000. And I received a phone call from their PR firm. Irene, we're going to go beyond the assurance of discontinuance. We're going to record the closing session. And I said,
doesn't help.
That's going to serve as an entrapment.
Yes.
So Diamond was the first to record. Now they all record. I think when Apollo bought Diamond, that was the first time arbitration clauses, Apollo being a hedge fund, was the first to incorporate arbitration clauses. Now they all have arbitration clauses. So we have on recordings being coached. Don't say anything about reselling, because I know people like Sherida who I can put you in touch with to sell this anytime you need to. Don't say anything to anybody about refinance, because I was in the finance business, and so I can put you. And then the other thing is, I sometimes forget to warn people. I will say the first step is a clear, concise complaint, and you send that to your resort.
Very clear and
concise. Corporate.
That is
then
a good
they call
solution.
back.
And we're going to be working on some templates to help people with that as well, because it's very difficult to put your thoughts in order when you feel like you've been scammed and you're upset and you have called them and they've ignored your phone calls and they made you feel stupid because you signed something because you heard one thing and they put something else in writing. But I will say, don't be afraid to record the conversations.
Wait a minute, but you don't. When you send the complaint in and they call you, they will say, we're recording this call.
Right.
And right. No, but you cannot say, well, I want to record this call, because they'll say, we won't talk to you, and it's a no.
But no, what you do is you agree with them. So I know this part. You agree with them and say, absolutely, I agree with a recording of this call. Do you? And if they say, yes, I have to, then you're in the clear. You've just played their game.
But they won't. They will never, ever allow you.
They're saying that they're recording the call. If they tell you they're recording the call and you agree, you have a right to record the calls as well. And I would record.
No.
Whether it's legal or not in your state to be used in court, it can sure as heck be used on social media and go viral.
But that will end the self-advocacy process. You will not be able to resolve your dispute, because they'll just say, okay, sometimes people will tell me, I told them to put everything in an email. I'm like, oh no, I forgot to tell them. You have to talk to them. We tried snarky. Well, I'm going to record too. No, you can't. Goodbye.
Well, you can do it in a way of saying, I agree with the recordings. Do you? And that's all you have to say with your
No, because we know the answer. We've tried it, been there, done that.
They don't know that trick. They will agree, because if they say they're recording and you agree with them, then the recording is allowed, whether
You
it's
mean,
yours or theirs.
so if they say we're recording, can you say, just not say anything and record them and it's okay?
No, yes, because they said that they're recording. So if you have that on a recorder, it's okay because they're saying we're recording so they're agreeing that it's okay because they're recording. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so if they say we're recording this call for quality assurance, then you sit there and you have to say okay, or you hang up, right? So the best thing to do is just agree and click your recorder on too, but make sure you do it when they say they're recording. And you can do it and go, so you're recording this call. Yes, we are. Okay, thank you. And hit your recorder.
Okay,
Make sure.
this is a lightning bolt moment.
Yeah, so
So,
it's legal. It is legal. I'm telling you, it is very federally legal because they're the ones who instigated it to begin with. So if they sit there and they tell you, Irene, I'm recording this call, and you go and you click on your recorder and you go, okay, so are you recording this call? And they go, yes, we are. Okay, thank you. And then you record it because they've already said they are. I would always also take a moment. It's hard to think these things through, but when you're kind of coached like this and you have the ideas in your brain, you go, hold on just a minute. You know what? You caught me at a difficult time. Just hold on. Get your recorder on. I go, okay, what was that again? Who are you? Who are you with? Oh, okay. So you're recording this call? Okay. And then you've got it all on recording, who they are, who they're with. A lot of people will call me and say they're with Hilton Grand Vacations or something. And I'll go, hold on just a minute. And then I'll get them back on and I'll ask them, can you repeat that? And they will. And come to find out they're really not. But I'm
right.
because I'm recording them saying we are with XYZ. But at the end of the day, they really weren't. So the scams, you need to fight back, and the only way to fight back nowadays, because it's he said, she said in court. And if enough people get a recording of all of these scams and go to court, we can definitely probably push to change the laws because yes, some states are going to say, well, you can't use that recording. And some states are going to say, yes, you can. But every state's going to say, yes, you can if you sat there and got them first saying who they are, what they're doing, and that they're recording the call. Every state's going to agree to do that because they said they were recording the call. So there you go.
Well, we have a guest on next week that it would have been interesting to have recorded that call, but we'll hear more about that later. So, Sherda, tell us more about what you've been doing to reach out constantly to colonies, and have you gotten any response back from them at all?
In the very beginning, they said that, okay, we'll waive $750 and we'll release you from the contract. But we had paid it off quickly because we didn't want the high interest rate. And so I refused because I want my money back, not $750. So I have been continuing to write to them twice a month. I just continually remind them of what they did. And it started with 2 contacts and now it's up to 8. And I've also started writing their officials in Virginia. And I also go on YouTube now and again. And if somebody does a video on Williamsburg or the colonies, I will make comments. And I'm never snarky or mean. I always say something. I say the place is beautiful, but please stay away from the concierge desk because they are the first people in the line of attack to get you to go to that 7-hour meeting and then purchase something. And because everybody has vacation brain, a lot of times they fall for it. So I try that way to help people. And I've also told colonies that now that I'm working with True Timeshare Realty, that I would tell people anytime that to avoid colonies because of what they do. So that's what I do. But I do have a piece of information that I'd like people to know. If all else fails, to at least get in your will um, the instructions on how to file a disclaimer of interest, so that your family doesn't have to be strapped with it. And you simply have to write within 9 months. That's a federal law. 9 months of your dad's passing or whatever, to file a disclaimer in the county that the timeshare resides.
And every state is different, so it's good to check with an attorney to see
Right.
what requirements your particular state. Now, Colonnades is owned by Vacation Village. That's part of one of their directory of resorts.
Yep.
Have you reached out to Vacation Village as well?
Vacation Village and actually the Berkeley group, they're the ones who manage it. So most of the people I talk to are either at Colonies or an office of Vacation Village or the Berkeley group.
And there is a Facebook group. The Facebook group started out the Massanutten Unfortunate Owners group. And Massanutten is one of the resorts in Massanutten owned by Vacation Village. There's another Vacation Village owned by Great Eastern. Great Eastern will not let you out for any circumstances I'm not aware of. I hear this over and over again. So I had them change the name. I asked them if they would change the name, and they did, to Vacation Village Massanutten, or Massanutten Vacation Village, because we've heard from quite a few people that bought at, is it Parkland? No, Parkway or Summer? Yeah, it's hard to keep their directories in my mind, but I think that the media outreach, and why we're so grateful to be here today to continue with the education. Now, you're also a writer, and you've helped me. You've been a wonderful editor. Have you reached out to any other avenues to share this in print media?
Well, we've tried to send articles to military magazines, but we have not had any response from them yet. That and newspaper, local newspaper, I have tried to submit some articles. I haven't had a whole lot of success, but I'm going to be trying that again. You know, as the vacation seasons come up, I'd like to at least put a letter to the editor to warn people to beware.
Yes. And so what are your next vacation plans? Let us know where you're going next.
Oh, well, we're coming to Cocoa Beach. We're going to come visit you.
Now, is that a timeshare stay?
Yeah, this is Westgate. We decided to, instead of go to Orlando, we decided to trade it and go to Cocoa Beach.
Oh, okay. And we always want to stay positive too, that now you were willing to give up Westgate. You wanted to sell Westgate to afford Colonies. Was there something about Westgate you didn't like that was appealing to you?
Well, we don't need two of them, for one thing, and our agent there also did the scam of hooking in, because he was military just like Earl. And so he lasted the longest in the scam. I mean, we emailed him back and forth for several months, and he promised, that we were going to go on a ship with him over in somewhere on the East Coast, because he had a friend who was a captain on the ship. And of course that never panned out, but yeah, he was pretty good.
Was this the Westgate? This was the Westgate purchase?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what would you feel you misunderstood or didn't hear right, or was deceptive?
I didn't feel really deceived, just pressured beyond belief, but I didn't feel really deceived. Do you?
No,
Other than
just the tactics that he used to really get us hooked into purchasing, and called in somebody else to, Earl's military, and what can we do here? And so they were doing everything, because we weren't going to buy, but just the way that they came at us, and it just,
He again was our best friend.
right.
Well,
So
and
they weren't ready for us to say no. They didn't know. They would not. No, I don't want anything to do with this. But then they'd come in. Well, we can do this. We can do this. We can do that. So there were a lot of promises in that one too, and a lot of they wanted to see where you were weak.
well,
And
and they demand that you buy the same day.
right.
Yes,
Right.
and Kimberly has talked about laws that need to be changed. In 2019, I was invited to attend a legislative workshop by a prominent person in the exit industry, and the bill on the table was proposed by the ARTA, the timeshare industry, that anyone signing up with an exit company or a law firm would require 24 hours before signing an agreement. It also included that if you practice timeshare law, you could not accept a retainer. And you say what you will about exit companies, but without the means of the exit company that had their lawyer there arguing and the means to communicate, because lawmakers don't really understand timeshare. And if you're good with your contributions, and they're going to write the bill that you want them to write. It's sometimes become a corporate bill mill. So the first state representative to raise his hand said, do you mean to, they're all lawyers, right? So do you mean to tell me that if I'm disputing a timeshare contract, I can't retain an attorney? And then Representative Newton raised his hand and said, I had to file for bankruptcy to get out of my timeshare. And the exit company attorneys said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We have no problem with our people waiting 24 hours. But if anyone needs 24 hours to consider, it's the timeshare buyer. And it went downhill from there. So what did ARTA do? They went to Nevada and they proposed the exact same bill on the last day to file. And our advocate in Nevada, who was supposed to testify, said, get on the phone. And we had 60 timeshare owners that opposed the bill unless the timeshare buyer was given 24 hours. Okay, so they took it off the docket. In Arizona, that same year, there was a bill. I'm going to make sure our time is running down here. There was a bill. Shauna Ballock, representative, proposed a bill to allow the timeshare buyer 24 hours before selling a contract. It passed 100% in the state, in the representatives. It went to the Senate, and the first person to speak, I attended by Zoom, was the ARTA lobbyist that said there's no deception in timeshare. There was something in Arizona, but that's fine. And then Senator Rita Michelle Ungenti, I believe, raised her hand and said, these people are adults. There was a meeting of the mind. They agreed they need to take responsibility. So I looked her up and I found an article of her sitting in a deposition where they were taking body shots of her on the bar drinking alcohol and sucking a lime, drinking alcohol out of her navel. She's telling us we're irresponsible. And, this is why I just couldn't believe that bill failed. It just got watered down to nothing.
So we had a viewer comment. Hello, Lori. Thank you for chiming in. I hope you're having a beautiful day. But, she raised a concern here, a red flag here of if you go with the mindset that you're not going to purchase, I don't understand why you felt so pressured. And then, of course, she's sending good vibes and hope you find true solutions, because we know a lot of people struggle with what some people would call just buyer's regret. I say it was liar's regret. You were lied to and you regret what you purchased because it wasn't what you were told, what you sold. So But you know what? Share with us a little bit about why you felt pressured at that moment to buy when you were saying no. Why do you feel pressured?
Well, what they do is they say, well, do you like this? You know, and then they'll take you through this whole thing with regards to what you like and can you see how this will work out for you and so forth. So you're pretty much being brainwashed in the whole process. And you get to that point, then you don't really have time to let's just look at this and see what we really need. Okay. Well, they built such a castle for you and the promises that go with it. You say, well, yeah, okay. And so you're just at that point, you're tired and then they befriend you in the process. Oh yes, we can do this together. We can go on this ship together. It's coming in. We'll make sure we're there. My girlfriend is actually the daughter of the owner here. And so, I mean, it's endless brainwashing through the whole process to where we signed it.
Also, when you attempt to leave,
yeah,
when you attempt to leave, and you know, if Kimberly, if you've been through this, you probably attempted to leave, correct? And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes they keep your driver's license and credit card, and you go to, and on this recording we have, we hear him, you know, ask, I'd like my driver's license back, and it was like he didn't hear it. And then, okay, wait a minute, I just need to get my manager to make sure they want to go over that I said everything okay. So then the manager comes in. I'd love to be able to play one of these recordings, and that would definitely answer that question.
A sales pitch record. I think every sales pitch should be recorded, period.
Yes.
But I can't count the times that I said I was hungry, I was tired, my blood sugar was dropping. And that was, and I'm like, the first time when my husband and I went through this, it was, well, if you want to keep the hotel that you have to attend this meeting. And then they took us off site and didn't bring us back for 10 hours. And this was back in the day when there wasn't Uber or cell phone. We didn't even have a cell phone. So I'll never forget when we got back, you know, my husband was so cool and calm on the way back. But when we got back, he ripped a hole in that guy. We went into our rooms, packed up, and he told him to shut that hotel up there, you know what. And, you know, we left and had to go find another place to stay. And actually, it was 100 times better. And, you know, that's when we made a pact then that we would never do anything. But they hold you hostage in a way that you can't breathe. And they do find you're very, very well dead on. And this is good education for people out there to watch and look for these things. Get up and leave. Demand your license back. If they don't bring it back, pick up the phone and call the police. Go, you know what? You're holding my license hostage. Give me don't be afraid to be a, you know what, witch. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be a bad guy. Don't be afraid to be a bad guy. I mean,
the problem with that,
played this really cool song for me. I'll bring it on one day.
Well, you and I are forceful. I think that's fair to say, but there are, especially elderly, there's a couple races that I feel are very polite. Very polite.
Westgate, one of the things that Westgate said was, we will buy it back. We have the right for the first buyer.
Yeah.
All right.
Right of first
So
refusal.
the right of first. So for us, that was like, well, that was probably the point where, okay, well, we can't.
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can't lose. I know. I heard that. I've heard that. We will buy this back. You know, Irene. Unfortunately, we got to wrap, and I hope that they come back and we can continue this conversation. You know what? Until then, everyone, before you buy something, take time, walk away, because this is a lifetime commitment. It's worse than getting married because there is no divorce. So make sure you listen to Irene and some of her solutions, because solutions or surrender is a great way to word this. But continue watching us. Thank you very much for watching us and bringing some of your concerns to our show. And we look forward to seeing you next week at 1 p.m. on Timeshares, Solutions or Surrender. Thank you.
Thank you so much.